Hello and welcome to La Jolla Babylon, Season 2, The Education of a Suburban Punk, a podcast where I read stories of my undersupervised Gen X youth to my coddled millennial little sister, writer, actor, and comedian, Katie Hartman. I'm your host, Aaron Hartman. And if you like what you hear, please share this podcast with someone who you think will like it too. Okay, here we go. Welcome back to another episode of La Jolla Babylon. You know, I didn't do a welcome back last time.
That's okay.
For the Sadie episode. So I'm just going to say welcome back to Season 2, Episode 2 of La Jolla Babylon. We did it.
Season 2. We did it.
If you want to do the theme song, I would be pretty... I think it's probably time to switch up the theme song. I guess people don't really do that.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes people do.
They would change it up a little bit sometimes, like in the 80s, like all those like different strokes. Like if you listen, like there's a little bit of a difference season to season.
Yeah, I think that we can do whatever we want, but I think
we can do whatever we want.
I think that my pitch for the new theme song would be something like, "Found a dead goat on the beach. What will happen next?"
On second thought, I'm just going to go ahead and keep my...
Found a dead goat on the beach. Listen to see what happens next.
So, can we just talk about the last episode with Sadie?
Sure, I would love to talk about the last episode with Sadie. How are you feeling?
I mean, it was kind of awesome.
How did you I mean, you couldn't really show you showed a real reaction, but you built it up so much for yourself, so I just want to check in.
Dude, I know. I built it. I will say I have stopped having dreams where I'm taking a shit in public.
How many times did that happen? How many shits did you take in public in your dreams? More than one?
I had at least 2.
God, that's crazy. But
know,
you don't think
sucks.
It was just about releasing the podcast?
I definitely am feeling, like you actually said in the very first episode, now I'm seeing the intimacy of what we're doing.
Yeah.
I all of a sudden coming to terms with the fact that I've been working so long and so hard on writing this stuff and kind of doing this, and now I'm kind of like, why why was it ever important for me to
tell these stories, do this thing,
take a shit in public? Yeah, I mean, why? Seriously, I don't. I mean, it was kind of it was a writing exercise, and it's so raw, and your contribution to this makes it even more raw.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It was, first of all, it was just me going it's fictionalized, and I want to be really clear.
There's a little bit of distance. Yeah.
That, we talk about, this was this person, but I make up a lot of stuff. So I want to make sure if people are trying to find themselves in these characters, they're probably not going to actually, there's some people who are going to be pretty recognizable, but they're not the person. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. But are you talking to me, or are you talking to all the listeners out there?
I'm talking to that person.
Yeah. That person, those people. It's not you, I promise.
I promise it's not you.
Unless you ate a tampon. He was taking a sip of water when I said that, and he almost spit it out on his mic, and it was really funny.
Oh, fuck. Oh, my God, Katie.
You're beet red right now.
I know.
Your face matches your shirt.
I know.
This is wild. Hey, what are we listening to today, Aaron?
Okay, so the first story is it's called Breaking Away, and it is about Dan Jones and Adam sort of tightening their relationship even more. Basically, Dan gets a girlfriend, and she's a rich girl, and just things go sideways really fast. So what happens is Dan tells Adam where his dad really is, and that's actually a pretty big moment for our friendship. Their friendship.
Their friendship.
The next one is about Adam's second band, his real high school band that he was in throughout high school. I'm just gonna say me. Fuck this. It's so confusing. So it's a chapter about my second band that I was in throughout high school. And so I kind of go into some of these guys who I performed with and played with and really got to know kind of what we were about. And it also sort of like my first group of friends who were real musical explorers. And it was awesome. These guys were amazing. But, so we were talking about the Sadie episode real quick.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I wanna jump back in. No. I sort of jumped to the thing. So I thought it was really amazing. And like, she and I, like I said before, our lives actually don't really intersect all that much. We spent a week with a bunch of friends for someone's birthday in Hawaii a year and a half ago. And so that was the first time we actually spent real time together. And I almost read those chapters to her then.
What?
Like I was really compelled to do it.
Oh, no.
And
oh, boy. Talk about intimacy.
Why?
Wild. I don't know. We were coming out of the pandemic. We're all like, what are we going to do with our lives?
And like we like had so much fun on this trip, and like it just seemed like, you know what, we're fucking 50. Like I'm just gonna, it'll be fun. It'll be funny. It'll be like
yeah.
I have no idea what she would have thought. It may have like actually ruined the trip, but for whatever reason, I was like, I want to read you this thing, and she's like, great. And then like, I just whatever the evening kind of morphed, and it never happened. And now I'm really glad that I feel like we did sort of trap her into doing this. Like I love how she's like, is this a trap? At one point.
Yeah, but sometimes traps are fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We got her.
Hey, I am an observer, and not a silent one. So.
Yeah. You were very helpful. Thank you for being my wingman on this.
Yeah, man, I had a great time. It's just so interesting, especially when you don't have that much. I was gonna say invested, which is not true. I am invested. It's just your lives are not my life, so it's it was fun to.
That's right.
It was sort of fun to watch all that happen in real time.
That's right. It was cool. I mean, it does also make me realize like there are things that are fine to just sort of like keep to yourself. Do you know what I mean? It's not always necessary to tell everyone everything.
Oh, sure. But you also
at all times.
Sure, but you also know her and your relationship well enough that you knew that this wasn't going to like make or break it, and it wasn't going to. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like
totally.
Yeah, and I think it feels that way because the feelings are from that time period. Like it has that like it does have a more raw sense. It does have a more like worry, this big worry to it sometimes because you just don't know. You don't know how people are going to react, but you're a grown man now.
That's right. Yeah, no, I guess when you're a teenager, every single thing is the most important thing all day, right? I mean, like I feel like that's why, you could spend 1 year of high school with someone and then you're friends with them for the rest of your life because that year was so developmentally important.
Especially, I feel like you guys went through a lot of stuff that a lot of regular teenagers weren't going through. And so you had to rely on each other, and you did. Or not had to, but like you ended up, and it sort of galvanized this really beautiful lifelong friendship.
Yeah.
And also when you feel those feelings like love or something for the first time or, that's, you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
I think people can get really addicted to that feeling and not look past it, just like the...
No, it's really true.
Ooh, I feel nice. I feel good. They make me feel good. I'm not going to consider this other person's feeling because I'm idolizing them in a certain way.
Right. Yeah. Well, I thought that she took it really well.
Oh, yeah. She texted me and was like, can you have Aaron not text me again?
No, I mean, it seemed like it went about as well as I could have expected. I could have hoped.
Oh, yeah. It was great.
Yeah,
she was great. It was awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you when you're done.
Great.
Listening.
When I'm done with what?
Do it.
Living? Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Breaking away. Dan Jones started seeing a girl who lived in a gigantic yellow house overlooking the ocean. He had only described her as having purple hair. I was bracing for a change. Neither one of us had ever had a girlfriend before. Teresa's folks, as rich parents tended to be, were out of town for the weekend. Me, Dan, and Terry planned to come over and stay the night. I was spying on neighbors through a telescope. Dan Jones was going in and out of drawers, photo albums, and cabinets with his usual creepy professionalism. She and Terry smoked pot in the kitchen and started blowing smoke into each other's mouths in increasingly intimate ways. It started getting awkward. I wanted to leave, but Teresa stopped me by saying, "Don't you guys want to go to the abandoned house? It's close, and I know how to get in. Junkies live there. Come on!" She was looking at me for the first time. She stood close. Despite watching his girlfriend carve various bands' names into her leg, Dan Jones did not have the moral fortitude to resist the ransacking of a vacant house. We were in a wealthy enough neighborhood that the construction site was not supplied with any fences or locks. In fact, we walked up to the front door and let ourselves in. Our only light was the street lamps the city recently changed from white to orange. There were piles of pipe and splintered wood. Drywall was falling from the corners of the front room. The smell of mold was overwhelming. We found the stairs leading to the second floor. In the master bedroom, we could see a mattress and a sleeping bag, a pile of books, a candle, a syringe, and a spoon. One of the books was called How to Clean Your Needles. We couldn't believe they were real junkies. It was the closest I had ever come to feeling like I was in a haunted house. This was the era of Tough Love, a program that sought to empower parents whose children were not falling in line with current standards. A friend of a friend found himself out on the streets for not raising his D to a C. And then there was Tony, who found himself homeless for not cutting his long, greasy hair. So perhaps these squatters were victims of this modern parental solution. We went back downstairs. We started kicking holes in the walls, and Teresa perched herself on a mound of broken sheetrock. She held a syringe. "Somebody put it in me." Terry sat next to her. Dan Jones had not spoken all evening, so his loud, nasal response shook me. "No, stop! What are you thinking? Go upstairs and put that back right now." We all looked at him. He stared at her. Teresa threw her head back and laughed. She held the syringe like a knife, making stabs, not quite puncturing her arm. It was time to go. Terry didn't move. Dan and I left them sitting on a pile of rubble, contemplating the wisdom of inserting a foreign syringe into her body. Dan was quiet. Then he said, "Well, I guess I don't have a girlfriend anymore. That's okay." We walked north, pressing along the shore towards the cove, heading to our favorite spot to decompress. Whenever I wanted Dan Jones to talk to me, I'd have to find a dark place. In a car at night, on a rooftop, or sleeping over at his house. He would never sleep at mine. We would often end up at the cove on this one rock, hidden from the street, the mansions, and hotels. Quiet at first, and then we would ask each other questions we'd be too embarrassed to pose in the light. We were at our spot when he told me where his father really was. My dad's not in Alaska. He's not an underwater welder. August 17th, 1992. That's when he gets out of prison for armed robbery. He stared straight ahead. He was telling the truth. I wanted more, but didn't want to pressure him. I managed to, wow. He got shot in the back by the cops. I knew the bipolar story of the Jones family. His mother's father was a well-loved donor to the Republican Party and was a member of the San Diego Bar Association. His book of dirty limericks was published in the 60s, and his portrait hung prominently in the county courthouse. Dan's maternal grandmother was a classically trained pianist and mezzo-soprano, and was also a lawyer. Dan's father's father had been a cop known for taking bribes and was killed off-duty, his body dumped on the front lawn of his house to be found by Dan's paternal grandmother. She was Dan's favorite. She was half Blackfoot Indian and never left her smoky apartment overlooking the freeway. We brought her food and cigarettes sometimes. We sat on our rock. The tide was rising. It was late spring. We were pretty warm, even though we would get sprayed with mist every few minutes. Sometimes seagulls would fly so low we had to duck. Do you ever think about how hypocritical your hippie friends are at Muir? They are. They get mad if you eat meat, but then they smoke pot and cigarettes, but they don't care that they're giving money to Mexican drug lords. I'm sure they spray their crops with DDT or whatever. Then they give me shit for wearing my leather jacket. This was a well-tread conversation. The kids at Muir weren't as judgmental as Dan Jones thought they were. But I liked being on his side more than I liked my school, so I would let it go or agree with him. So wait, what happened to your dad? When I was a kid, my dad would sometimes borrow my bike and use it as a getaway vehicle after robbing a Burger King or a Safeway. He was a pretty bad man. He gave me and Alan speed sometimes. Don't tell anyone. We grew pot in the backyard. There's a picture of me and a giant pot plant hanging on the wall at my grandma's house. He's crazy. Who makes meth and gives it to his kids? My mom married him because he saved her from the Krishnas in the 60s. She's so dumb. She went for him because he rode a motorcycle. When she was pregnant with me, a long gray hair grew out of the bottom of her foot. When she was pregnant with Alan, another long gray hair grew out of her other foot. She should have kept them. I would. If you had 2 long hairs growing out of the bottom of your feet, wouldn't you keep them? This was how he was. I asked what his father got caught for. He's so dumb. He used to always rob this one gas station. It was easy because there were so many ways to escape. Nobody working there cared. It wasn't their money. Even managers aren't going to fuck with a crazy person wearing a Barbie mask and holding a huge gun. I wouldn't, would you? My dad says the most dangerous part of robbing stores isn't cops. It's super citizens. You know, idiots who want to be the hero for a day. Dads who want their kids to see them on TV. There was a rock completely covered white with bird shit, and we were throwing pebbles at it. Dan hit it about every 5 times to every one of mine. His aptitude for accuracy could be irritating. I lay there next to him in the moonlight, and I felt myself trying to coax more out of him. Part of me was thinking, my life is easy, and if I'm even a little bit careful, it's always going to be easy. Dan's father was in a Hollywood-style, broad daylight, high-speed car chase heading towards downtown San Diego. He tried to evade the police by squeezing his car between 2 lanes of stopped traffic, and his bumper jammed under one of the cars he slammed into. Just then, a cop smashed into the back of his car, locking Matt Jones between the two. I guess he's been in prison for so long because instead of giving up, like a dummy, he turned around and shot at the cops. He knew he wasn't going to get away. What a dummy. Dan's speech patterns continued to surprise me. He often chose phrases like, "Okie dokie," and long drawn-out, "darns." He somehow always sounded earnest. Maybe he was. So my dad took off, and the cops shot him in the back. When they read him his rights, he was laying on his stomach, and one of the pigs stood on his wound. At least, that's what he says. Dan Jones described this stuff without much emotion. It was more of a detached excitement. He loved the concept of being this guy's son, but he thought his dad was total trash. Prisons and jails are always segregated unless you molest kids or shoot at cops. Any child molester will get his ass kicked every day, no matter where he is. When they took my dad to jail, they put him in the Mexican cell. They pushed him down the stairs and said, "You're sleeping with the wetbacks tonight." Dan pulled a small photo from his chain wallet and pointed to one of two bearded men. The one with the longer hair, bigger muscles, and darker sunglasses was his father. Both men wore prison regulation denim pants and white tank tops. They were posing, clasping each other's paw in a macho grip. All his father did in prison was lift weights and plan how he could get back into crime once he got out. All of his friends who got out are back in. All of them. They're such fucking dummies. Second band. I joined a band called Irony toward the end of 11th grade. We were a 5-piece punk thing with rambling songs strung together by parts that sprung from mistakes. Our lack of experience was our most charming attribute. After much digging, we unearthed a magic place between messy noise and sharp angles that was truly transcendent. When something worked, we all felt it. We would communicate in the way I always imagined bands should. A nod or a shoulder shrug or an extra strum would get us all going all over again. We became good friends. We practiced in my bedroom. I would hang blankets over my windows and upend my mattress against the door in order to create a less antagonistic assault on my family and neighbors. Practices were long and scattered and would usually end when we realized we were hungry. Juan and Enrique, guitar and drums respectively, were brothers. They were new to Muir and belonged to a first-generation Mexican family. Let me tell their story before introducing the rest of the band. Their father, Juan Sr., came to the States in the 1950s as a migrant. He snuck across the border in the standard, over-the-wall, under-the-fence way like so many before him. Juan Sr. gardened freelance in middle-class neighborhoods and sent most of the money back to Mexico. He was eventually able to bring his wife and daughter across, and they moved into a small apartment in the Claremont neighborhood. The money got better, and he started saving. He hired a couple friends from Tijuana, and he bought a truck to bring them to various job sites. Then he bought a house. His growing family did not move into the house, but remained in an apartment down the street. Juan Sr. bought 2 more houses over the next 10 years and rented them out. After Juan Jr. and Enrique were born, they moved into one of their rentals, where they stayed for 50 years. Juan the younger graduated from Muir with me, went to Stanford, and now teaches landscape architecture. I hear he's doing very well. The American dream has never been better defined. Our other guitarist was Anton Parker. Anton described himself as half Chinese, half angry white lady. His dad, as far as Anton knew or would tell, was a studio guitarist in New York. Anton was cute and freckly. He was the only good musician in the band. His guitar playing was strange and strong with lots of noise and rhythm. He somehow ended up naked a lot. His mother would drive him around, and he would sit in the back seat screaming at her, and she would scream at him. We'd hear the door slam and, "Fuck you too, bitch!" Anton's here. I was the only white guy in the band till we got a singer. Tom was a couple years older than us, maybe 19, and was friends with lots of cool people. Tom was the only one of us who drank, smoked, or did drugs. He did all 3. One nice thing about irony practice was the long breaks we would take after the arduous task of tuning. Practice would be scheduled for noon. We'd all be plugged in by 1 and swimming at our secret beach by 2:30. Life was grand. Our spot lay between 2 well-traveled beaches, anchored by tide pools at either end. The only access was a street that ended abruptly and led to an alley, which poured unceremoniously onto our paradise. A locals-only stretch of thick-grained sand, no lifeguards, no tourists. Together, irony would stand, sometimes holding hands, and run into the water. All 5 of us, diving or flipping our bodies over the first wave. All of us virgins, all of us good. I remember saying out loud that these moments would make great memories, that what was happening was a rare and beautiful time in a teenage boy's life. We'd return to my room, sand everywhere, full from black bean burritos, and make noise for a few more hours. It's amazing how close people can get when they play music together. We all obsessed over different kinds of music. The brothers were deep into New York and DC hardcore. Talking to them, you would think that Soulside, Youth of Today, and Verbal Assault were international superstars. Anton was a true musical searcher. He introduced us to bands like Magma, Kraftwerk, and later career John Coltrane, as well as Leonard Cohen and the Melvins. Tom went even further. He had pen pal relationships with record labels and bands from England and various places in the States. He would receive 45s from Detroit, New York, and Olympia, Washington. He would always want to play his new records for us. Some of the stuff he was into sounded so terrible to me. I could not understand how someone as cool as Tom could listen to lame bands like Beat Happening or Half Japanese. But after getting over my first negative response, ooh, good hardcore band name, I could get into it. I would tape his records and force myself to listen to these weird men who couldn't sing and their bands who couldn't play, and I'd hear a phrase or some random feedback and find myself crying. The point. Terry kept talking about his old friend he wanted me to meet. Her name was Rebecca, but she had recently started making everyone call her Tar. They had met at junior theater in the art department when they were in 6th grade and had recognized a mutual love of chaos and disrespect for authority. Tar had worked in the costume department of the Gothic Theater at Balboa Park, where classes were taught. She told us she knew the building better than anyone. At the top of the stairs, next to the lighting booth, was a ladder which led to a trapped door opening up onto the roof. The first time I met her, she snuck us upstairs, past her old teacher, and onto the roof. We shimmied up one of the 2 towers which overlooked the park. It was heady being up there. We waited until the building was empty before we got down. I wanted to kiss Tar. Terry wanted me to drive him to see her one weekend. She lived in a nice neighborhood near Balboa Park. We parked in her driveway, and she came running at the car like a chased cat. "Can we please just go? I had to sneak out of my bathroom window, and my dad will be out here looking for me any minute." I obliged, and we left for Denny's. I got a call from Tar one night. She was crying and sounded scared. "Adam, I know we don't know each other very well, but I need a favor. Can you please come and pick me up? I just need to get out of here." Yeah, are you home?" "I'm in Hillcrest. I can meet you at Denny's. I just need to get out of here. Will you please help me?" "Yeah, I'll leave now." It was after midnight, on a school night, but I could come and go as I pleased. I met Tar under the familiar yellow sign. She finished her cigarette and hopped into my car and kissed me on the neck. "I'm sorry I was so bummed on the phone, but I was at this guy's house and he wanted to sleep with me, and I was like, no, and he got all mad. Do you know Pounce Kitty? It was one of those guys, Rob. Dude is like 30, so gross. I don't know what he was thinking. I'm like half his age. I listened, shocked at Tar's story. Should I just take you home? God, no. Can we just drive around for a while? Sure. Do you want to go to the beach? She was short, had thick, ringlet hair, big eyes, and she was curvy. I wasn't attracted to her drama, but I didn't know how to separate it all. She had that deep, raspy Margot Kidder voice some young Jewish girls have. No, it's too cold for the beach. Can we just drive around? Do you have a driver's license? Me? No, I'll never drive. Do you know how bad it is for the environment? I had never thought of it. As far as I was concerned, the only reason to not drive was the price of gas. I drove us to the zoo and headed into the giant parking lot and stopped in the middle. I'm going to teach you how to drive right now. Let's switch seats. I really don't want to. I'm bad at learning new things and I'm really not in the mood. Can we please just drive around? You can just drop me at home if you want. I really don't want to drive your stupid car. Okay, yeah, I can just drive you home, or we can drive around some more. No, that's fine. Just take me home. We pulled onto Park Avenue. She rummaged through my tapes and found the one with Fugazi on one side and The Point on the other. Oh my God, you have The Point? I love Nilsson. I haven't heard this since I was a kid. Can we listen to it together sometime? That is so awesome that you have it. I knew I liked you for a reason. There is no way that Terry would ever listen to The Point. Hey, did Rob try to rape you? God, no! My ears flushed. She rolled down her window and stuck her head out and screamed. I pulled over a block or two from her house, and she sat next to me with her eyes closed. She eventually reached out of the door and pulled the handle to open it from the outside, like you had to on that car. Thanks, man. I'll call you. And she was gone. There was a message on my machine when I slid through my door sometime around 2:30. Tar sang, "Me and my arrow, me and my arrow, me and my arrow, me and my arrow." Hey man, thanks for being my arrow tonight. Let's hang out sometime in the day. I'm much better in the light. I love you. We did hang out again a week or so later. I picked her up at her house, and we drove to a park that bordered a cemetery. She was wearing all black, a low-cut t-shirt, a tight skirt, ripped tights, and creepers. We roamed around, looking for a good spot. We stepped over the little wooden fence and sat down between a couple of tombstones from the 1890s. I had recently installed 6D batteries in what was then called a ghetto blaster, so I was confident it would not die on us. We sat on pine cones and brown pine needles and played The Point all the way through. She lay on her back and asked me if I wanted to lay my head on her stomach. I did. She pulled my arm up to her and held my hand. When the tape ended, we rewound it and played it again. This time, we lay next to each other, our noses almost touching. I tried to tell her about my favorite part when you hear the narrator turning a page early on, but she shushed me. Let's just listen. She hit rewind and walked behind a tree to pee. She came back and lay down next to me again and put her arm around me. The Point played a third time. We were holding hands and nuzzling. I put my face in her cleavage, and she pressed the back of my head toward her. She rocked back and forth and got us rolling. First, I was on top of her, then she on me. Then we were just log rolling down the hill, away from our stuff. We stayed there for the rest of the album. The tape flipped, and the first eerie notes of Fugazi started, and she grabbed my hand, and we ran back, and she stopped the tape. I kind of want to hear it again. Do you need to go? I thought about it for a second, and she said, never mind, I should go home now. I have to work tonight. I got a job waiting table at Goddess. It's vegetarian. You and Terry should come sometime. Bring Dan Jones. I'll hook you up. I can hang out for a while. Do you want to listen to The Point one more time? I was sick of that album, but I had been hiding my heart-on for hours by then. No, this was fun, though. She got up, brushed the mud and grass off her clothes, adjusted her boobs, and started walking to my car. I dropped her off, and she kissed my cheek and said, "Thanks, Adam. You're a mensch." I tried to masturbate on my way home, but something prevented me from being able to come while driving. We called each other a few times after that. She would tell me about the book she was reading and harass me about it. "I'm reading The Buddha of Suburbia. It's about a couple of gay guys in London. There's lots of gay sex in it. How does that make you feel, Adam? Do you read books about gay men, or are you too into that whole macho San Diego bullshit? Do you ever wonder why you never see me barefoot? It's because my feet are fucked up." I knew that ballet girls often had messed up feet. It was the kind of knowledge that makes a teenage boy seem worldly. Except Tar never let anyone else feel worldly or see her feet. "Why, did you do ballet?" "Do I look like a ballerina?" "No. You know the outside of your toes, how they have hard skin? I used to pick at them and chew on the skin. Do you think that's gross? Anyway, I started using fingernail clippers to clip off the better pieces. I would also do my heels." I was quiet for a minute, trying to think of something to say. "You're squeamish. I used to do my palms too, the little puffy parts just below my fingers. I do my fingers next to my cuticles. I stopped doing my fingers because I started getting painful and my dad noticed. But I did my feet for years. I'd check every day to see if it was ready for me to do more. Maybe it's like being addicted to heroin. The first pieces were so fat and juicy and fun to get, but then it was harder to get it like that again. Like I'd have to wait, but I couldn't wait, so I'd get these little shitty pieces that were like the shadow of the big ones from before. So now I have messed up feet. I don't do it anymore. Not really, but you can totally see where I ate my own foot. Isn't that gross?" None of this made her any less hot to me. Maybe it was true. Maybe if I saw her feet, I would understand how messed up she had been. But she was a girl, and she was talking to me.
And so here we are. We're back.
We're back.
I guess my first question to you is, why isn't Tar on the podcast? Why didn't we have her come as a special guest? See where she's at.
Yeah. Well, the next time Tar comes up, you will know why she's not on this podcast.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, did she die?
Tar, as far as I know, didn't die in this.
Oh, okay, great. Okay. Yeah, you don't know where. Okay. Who knows?
People are dead.
It's true.
I don't know if she is.
Okay. Great chapters. Great chapters all around.
Cool. Thanks.
I will tell that the listeners that you texted me halfway through being like, "Oh, I forgot there's a chapter with a girl."
Yeah. Yeah, I had totally planned to warn you about that whole thing.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We're adults.
I
still looked like this the whole time listening to it.
Yeah.
I know that podcasting isn't a visual medium, but I think you got the gist by the sounds that I made.
Yeah. Let the record show that Katie looked like she was eating a lemon on the toilet.
Trying to suck that shit back into her body. An impossible task. This was, there's a lot to go over, but I don't know. I really loved the line in that first one. This is sort of kind of about nothing, but he saved her from the Krishnas in the 60s. Honestly, that is not a sentence anyone will say again soon. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's sort of an interesting thing. I was watching The Burbs, this old Tom Hanks flick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in there, Bruce Dern plays a Vietnam vet, that sort of crazy ass Vietnam vet trope that we had, which we don't have anymore.
Yeah.
I always thought that was super interesting. Anyway, that was what it made me think of, where it's just this is such a moment in time where people will understand what that is, and then in 30 years, a lot of people won't.
She also gets saved from the Scientologists at some point in this as well.
So this is on her then. This is her.
It's a little
She's
bit
looking for a cult. She's looking for the right cult.
Yeah. She's
Aren't we
looking
all?
for a man to tell her what to do, this person.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
That would be nice to have that mindset. I just wish it would make my life so much easier. Yeah, this was, I mean, really, really sort of beautiful slice of life. I mean, do you feel like you had a relationship or that you were looking for that sort of friendship intimacy from like your male friends and other people were looking for the same? Or do you think that that's something that you were interested in that a lot of people push away? Is that a bad question?
No, it's a great question. I don't know. I feel like it was really specific to the guys that I found myself with. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I feel like Dan Jones was such a special weirdo and was not really forthcoming about his feelings or anything, and was kind of like, would only talk about things if we were driving in a car at night and sort of, facing forward.
Right. It was like the two of you.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think I was looking for connections,
Yeah. I also, one thing that comes up while I'm listening to these is especially with Dan Jones and his sort of commentary on the hypocrisy of other people, especially like kids. I feel like that's a thing that a lot of people become aware of more in college or like a little bit later. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sometimes, I know, especially for people who have had sort of hard lives or whatever, who have had to look beyond themselves and see what, and, are sort of like hit with what the world really is often.
Yes.
That they are extra aware of shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's also something, I think that once you kind of have that, you feel like there's a veil of secrecy or bullshit, around adults or whatever, and you start kind of like peeling that back, and you're like, wait, what else are they lying to me about? Do you know what I mean? Oh, everything? Do you know what I mean? And I feel like someone like that, and it's, just like a punk who's just like, everything sucks, everything is bullshit. I can only trust myself, and part of like my obsession with my friendship with him was that he also trusted me.
Yeah.
And so that just felt so powerful to be in his very small circle of people who he could relate to,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was this also, was this like Reagan era-ish stuff, that tough love stuff? I remember, I mean, I sort of have like a vague back of my head memory of stuff like that. Not that I lived through it, obviously.
Right.
But like, yeah, that it just seems so crazy today.
It was this nuclear option. And I think that it was really empowering to parents to know, oh, I can just, at the very least, threaten to kick them out. You know what I mean? And it really just took a few parents to actually pull the trigger to scare the fuck out of me and my friends. That I wasn't ever scared that my parents would ever do that to me, but it was brought up. You know what I mean? Like the tough love was, it was like, I'm sure like on Phil Donahue, and, it was it was totally a Reagan
scared
era.
Straight.
Yep.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
Real asshole move. The philosophy of, my way or the highway, or I should say, like, it's the opposite of, unconditional love.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's the thing that hit me real hard, where it's just like, oh, okay, you're not going to abandon your child. Also, I feel like a lot of the adults at that time probably didn't think about what the modern world was. They were thinking of when they were teenagers. Do you know what I mean? That it was probably easier at that time to, I don't know, get a job, find a place to live, like all that stuff. Sort of similar to now that we're trying to convince boomers. So it's just like, hey, actually, it's quite hard. It's not the same right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything is so different from when, and just like, Yeah.
So my friend who got kicked out of his house for not cutting his hair had to sleep in a friend's car.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? And he like slept in his friend's car because
He went and
He had
got
a
his
car.
hair. Oh my
He went to his
gosh.
hair. Yeah. I
Ugh.
know. It was so
Okay.
nuts.
That's
Yeah. And he was in high school. He was like in 10th grade, maybe 11th. Yeah.
like what is that going to do for him? What is that going to do for him? Nothing.
I know.
Ugh, that makes me crazy.
Brutal.
Loved hearing about the band. Loved hearing about you listening to new music for yourself and like learning to have an appreciation of like outside of what music in your brain was and could be, and then which of course I think led you to where you ended up being.
100%.
Like the music that you created, the music, like the band that you fell into, like which you guys are incredible musicians, but it is a non-traditional type of music.
Totally.
Also, for anybody who doesn't know, in that band, the lead singer also stripped down to his undies a lot. I don't know if you ever put that together.
Oh, the kid in the band, when I say he ended up naked a lot, not on stage.
Oh.
Just like in general.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, well, never mind. I thought I was being like, you just surround yourself by dudes who want to sing into a microphone and get into their undies.
No, the way I described him is that he like didn't look any different naked or clothed.
Yeah.
He was like this like really natural dude.
That's so strange. I've never met anyone like that, I think. It is such like a perfect little slice of memory. But for you to also remember that you were like, remember this, essentially, because this is going to be a great memory.
Yeah, like 5 and sometimes 6 or 7 people, boys, and because like sometimes friends would meet us at the beach.
Yeah.
And we would literally hold hands.
This is so
like,
sweet.
I know, and just like
play Red Rover
wave.
with the waves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So sweet. Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really special. Yeah. So I told a little story about my friend's family coming over from Mexico.
Yeah.
It is so weird that I have this emotional response to the story.
I was like, what's happening? Yeah.
I know. When I was writing it, when I like read it, I had to kept pausing and like, going over it because I don't know what it is, but like it makes me so happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the story of good people getting into America by hook or by crook and fucking making it.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny. Like, 2 things make me feel really patriotic. That story, I just fucking, because they're like, we need people like this family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, they're like the best people. And, their story is like the story that is demonized by the right?
Yeah.
And there's something about, I don't know what it is, but it's like something I'm conditioned somehow to just, like, I just get overwhelmed when I think about them.
Well,
like
it's an incredible feat.
Yeah.
It's an incredible feat. It takes so much courage and ambition and stick-to-itiveness and smarts. I mean, and trust.
Yeah. It's a fearless trust, and the fact that the system is sort of stacked against them. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Especially now.
Oh God, yeah, especially now. Right. The other thing that makes me feel patriotic is people, well, not so much anymore, but when I first moved to Portland, there was a tradition of on 4th of July, people, this is a town of like, those like tall bikes. People would weld 2 bikes together and, like sort of ride around on these insane looking bikes.
Yeah.
So people on those kinds of bikes on 4th of July would basically like wrap themselves up in fireworks and more or less light themselves on fire and ride around.
God.
In some,
Did our brother do this? It
No,
sounds
but
like something he would
no,
do.
but he was into it.
Yeah.
But so they would basically be shooting bottle rockets at each other from across the street, and it was so much chaos. It was so crazy, and it would be like in some residential neighborhood.
Right, like a cul-de-sac.
They would just take over some area, and it was so fucking crazy and so dangerous. Like there was no plan. Do you know what I mean? I was like, you can do this in America. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can just like be so fucking crazy and so stupid and so creative and so weird and kind of make your own rules. I'm like, where else? I mean, there might be other places in the world where you could do something like that, and probably couldn't do this in every single city in America.
Right.
I remember at one 4th of July experience like that, it was just totally, people were sort of like dodging bottle rockets as they were like flying it, because they would, bottle rockets don't fly straight. I mean, like, so
they certainly do not. No,
so
I've
they're just
almost
going
been
everywhere.
hit by a couple.
Oh, yeah. And I remember this guy had a smoke bomb, and he like threw the smoke bomb, and he'd go, "I'm the beer fairy. I'm the beer fairy. I'm the beer fairy." And then the smoke would clear. He was gone, and there was a 6-pack of beer by my feet.
Oh my gosh.
Like, what?
I love that makes you feel patriotic.
Yeah. That and my friend's family sneaking into the country and like, kind of perfecting the gardener kind of, version of starting your family out here.
Yeah.
I just like it. Yeah. It like it makes my heart explode. I don't know.
Wow. God bless America. Well, I thought that story with you and Tara was very sweet. It felt like one of those natural progressions, like in those teenage things.
Mm-hmm.
It's also amazing. You can, just sneak out at midnight. Nobody gives a shit or notices. Cool. I don't get it. I love that you guys were listening to The Point. That is also very sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, someone from my school made a tape of The Point on one side and Fugazi on the other side. And that's my personality. You know, kind of like groovy kids music and fun punk.
Yeah. A perfect album to make out to.
We did not make out.
Okay, a perfect album to roll down a hill.
Yeah.
To.
Yeah, we nuzzled, but neither of us, we just couldn't, for whatever reason, couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's safer not to cross the line.
Yeah, I think there was something about her that felt better to not do that.
Oh, I do have one question. When you describe what she was wearing, which sounds very cool, what are creepers?
There are people listening to this who are
judging
giggling. Just giggling. Oh, what are creepers? So creepers are a shoe that had really high soles.
Platforms.
Kind of, not quite platforms. It was kind of a combination of like, had a little bit of a vibe of like a combat boot, but it was kind of gothy. Mm-hmm. But like not
a boot.
I mean, it wasn't a boot.
Like a loafer.
It was kind of a loafer.
You have to leave all of this in.
It was kind of a loafer, but it was like, the heel. I mean, not the heel, but the sole was probably 4 inches high.
Yeah.
And so, like my friends who wore them generally listened to like the Cramps and kind of like super weird, fun, kind of punky, gothy kind of bands. Mm-hmm. It was a symbol of like the kind of like the version of weirdo that you were, right? Whereas like Doc Martens was one thing, a chain wallet was a thing. There are little uniforms, little pieces of the uniform. So creepers were kind of a symbol that you were like, maybe you listened to the Smiths or the Cure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
I actually
now I know.
I have a friend who, in the last season, you said something like, So Bad Brains were a band.
Oh, right.
And like I had a friend who was like, she was like screaming, going like, yes, Bad Brains is a band.
I actually just heard Mark Maron refer to Bad Brains on his podcast, so I was like,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, no, it wasn't just my brother.
Yeah. You have to wait for NPR to do a thing on them. Then.
Oh, yeah, I don't listen to NPR. Just kidding. Well, Bad Brains Tiny Desk concert?
I don't think so.
All right.
Maybe. I don't think
maybe.
So. Yeah, maybe. Fingers crossed.
I did love it when Dan Jones was like, guess I don't have a girlfriend anymore.
Totally. So I make up a lot of stuff in this, like
Yeah.
But that I 100% am sure that was a quote. Well, I guess I don't have a girlfriend anymore.
Listen, I get it. I totally get it. I would have done the same thing. I would have been just like, I can't be here. I would have done it way less cool. But I would have been like, this is very dangerous and I don't want to get caught. And I don't want to watch you stab yourself. Goodbye.
Yeah. That was a scary situation.
Yeah, that seems awful. I'm also realizing that I think I would have had a lot better stories if I wasn't such a pussy.
Yeah. Would you not have gone inside that house?
I don't know.
Like if you had friends who were like, hey, you want to go explore this a bit? Did you ever do that? Did you ever like?
Did I? No. Well, no. In fact, I did get offered that at one time in college. I was like, no, thank you. I probably had rehearsal, but I definitely was like, no, I didn't want to get caught. I didn't want to get in trouble with the police. I didn't want to I think I'm very sensitive. And so in those situations, my emotions are just like, ah.
But like when you hear this stuff, do you feel like, oh, that's Aaron? Or were you like, I could have been doing stuff like that? You know what I mean? Like, is there any kind of like part
I wish
of you
that I
feels
could,
like...
Yeah, I wish that I could do that kind of stuff and not be worried about it the whole time. You know, like our brother would always jump fences and go swim in people's pools or hot tubs or whatever. Like that was like a regular thing. And sometimes my friends would go with him. And maybe I went like once. I don't even remember. And even if I did go once, I was like not... I think I didn't do it. I think I didn't jump over the fence. Do you know what I mean? It was probably like, oh, the fence is locked. Sometimes it's not locked, but we can just jump over the fence. And I'd be like, no, thank you. That's not for me. Like, what if people come? We're trapped. I can't jump over a fence twice in one night. That's crazy.
Yeah. I get chased.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I guess I could have used my white girl privilege earlier.
Yeah. Well,
you know, or just like understood, I think, that I wasn't going to get that much in trouble, especially because we were in the suburbs.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's hard to say because it sounds really fun.
Right.
But I also just know myself, and the whole time I'd be like, let's go.
Right.
Let's go watch a Tim Burton film.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. You sound like you had kind of you were happy to be who and where you were.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because I was thinking about how, I mean, our upbringings were so different, but also like I was like felt like a caged animal, and you didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe it may have had the walls of your house may have felt a little bit better to be within than mine.
Yeah, that feels right.
I mean? One last thing. Do you remember seeing my high school band? Because you did come to see us once. Did we
at the Che Cafe, maybe?
Yeah.
Ah.
You and Ben sat on my amp.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, there's video, because there was a little bit of video of that show, and I had the tape, and the tape got...
like moldy or something?
No, like it was at a house. Somehow, whatever, it disappeared, which sucks because that was the only footage of that band. But part of it was the camera kind of panned, and then like you guys were so young, you know, and you guys, you know, I think you had, you know, you probably only had like toilet paper stuffed in your ears or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
for the time. You guys were like, bobbing your heads and smiling and stuff.
That's fun. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. That's so
you guys
funny.
were like on stage.
Well, this was great. I loved these
Thank
chapters.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back on the show with you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's fun.
Wow.
Shit. Okay, now I gotta tell you what we're gonna be into next time, right? Oh yeah. Oh shit. Okay, so next time. Oh boy. So next time is my junior prom, and this season is a kind of girl-heavy season.
Okay.
And not like it's not great.
Can't wait. Great.
Yeah. So we meet. So I go to my junior prom. I meet a girl, and sort of come to terms with the fact that I probably wasn't really ready to have a girlfriend yet.
Okay. All right. Well, this was so fun.
All right. This was great. Thank you. This was so fun. Bye.
Bye. Love you. Bye.
I love you too. Bye. Boom.
Boom, sucker. Episode 2 in the cave. Oh, fuck you.
If you had 2 long hairs growing out at the bottom of your feet, wouldn't you keep them? Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us on Instagram, or you can send us an old-timey email at lajoyababylon@gmail.com. If you like what you heard, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Your 5-star rating will help others find this fucking podcast. Please check out the show notes for links to Katie's comedy, the music you heard, and a complete transcript of the show. La Jolla Babylon Season 2, The Education of a Suburban Punk, was written, produced, and edited by Aaron Hartman, with music by Aaron Hartman, co-piloted by Katie Hartman. Presented in association with Ruinous Media. To hear more episodes of this show or other Ruinous Media podcasts, please go to ruinousmedia.com or wherever you get your podcasts.